Hi everyone, welcome to another brand new episode of the Outlier Podcast. I have Jeff with me today. Hi Jeff, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolute pleasure, Jeff. Firstly, thank you for agreeing to be on the podcast, spending like half an hour with us. We really appreciate this time that you're spending with us.
Yeah, it's great. I'm excited. You have a great lineup of people who have been on this podcast, so I'm honored to be a guest here today. Thank
You are being too, I would
you.
say, humble, right? In that way. So let me break that shackle of being humble. There's a reason because of which I invited Jeff. Jeff has a very diverse background in technology, right? So who Jeff is, Jeff, let me do a quick introduction about who Jeff is. That's more important. So Jeff is the Chief Information and Innovation Officer at Firefighters First Credit Union. He has, if I'm not wrong, Jeff, more than 3 decades of experience or background in technology. So Jeff is someone who started in MarTech years back, right? When MarTech didn't even
That's
exist.
right.
From MarTech to digital technologies, right? That's the next movement. And then finally, focused on digital transformation, right? And so very interesting uh, career journey being on the side of QSO, then moving to a credit union. So he has seen the movement progress, the movement inside out, outside in, right? So you've seen both the perspectives. So I hope, Jeff, I was able to do some bit of justice to your introduction. And in case I haven't, feel free to add.
Oh well, no, I think that's good. I agree. I
Perfect.
started my career in the MarTech space. I worked a lot on email marketing in the very early stages of funnel analysis and funnel optimization and all these things that really annoy you on the internet. Well, I was behind a lot of them. I'm sorry, everybody. But that led into a really good career in marketing and understanding marketing technology and really understanding people and the way that they interact with the internet and the way that experiences need to be laid out to get optimal results from people. So it was a really great introduction that finally led me into this bizarre industry of financial services, which, you think back, financial services is this really great structured thing which everybody understands. Well, no, it's not really that way. And I learned that as I got into it, and as I got into the QSO space and I got into the credit union space, it's not exactly what you think. But the greatest lead up that I had was this human centered design, marketing, technology experience. It really let me explore more of the credit union space and make some impact, I think, in financial services that wasn't otherwise there. So it's been a pretty cool journey so far.
I'm sure, right? So let me ask you that question. So what has been your journey so far?
Yeah. So, okay. So like I said, I started right after school. This was in the financial crisis, in the dot-com bust. So there was not a lot going on. I really needed a job. I had graduate school bills to pay. So what was I going to do? I started my own company, and I think that was it was a bold move, but a good move.
Yeah.
And that's how I learned how to do marketing technology. And this is a place where MarTech was not a really well established business at the time. If you said to somebody, "Hey, I want to do bulk email marketing," there were not a lot of platforms out there. There was no such thing as an autoresponder. There was no such thing as uh, optimizing banner ads. So I took some of these really basic concepts and I put them into automation, and I started rolling them out there to clients, and I started doing some arbitrage. Like I would buy some inventory, and back then it's crazy. You could buy banner inventory on eBay, and you could buy it for really low prices, and you could just arbitrage it out and sell it to somebody else,
Yeah.
and that was a business right there. So arbitraging it, automating it, doing all these things with email marketing, autoresponders, that was the thing that allowed me to gain some capital so that I could do some bigger and better things. And then I
Yeah.
started buying and selling businesses and doing a lot of things with e-commerce, getting into big referral business, which then led me into the banking space, where I took some of the experience with experience design and was able to apply that to what was going to be a large scale digital transformation for three really large credit unions. And that was the thing that got me really interested in the credit union space. I liked working with these credit unions, getting them from paper and pencil into a modern, really good online banking environment where they had an automated account opening, they had automation, all these cool things. And the one thing just led to another, and now here I am doing it for another credit union now.
So you are one of the credit union veterans who have seen the transformation from pen paper to digital transformation. That's very rare, you know that, right? Because uh, even 30 years back, you know, from then to now, there are not a lot of people who have seen this journey. They have run businesses, they've done lending, they've done risk, they've done marketing. Not a lot of people who've actually seen the transformation happening, and that makes you so valuable in the ecosystem, right? So this is great, Jeff, right? This is great. Now, obviously, you've done so many things. You're one of the guys who've seen almost it all. So what keeps you going? Because you've just got 24 hours, right? It's not easy.
Yeah. Well, so what keeps me going is the next step, because I think it's because I didn't come from banking, right? So I came from this really highly entrepreneurial, build the business. The idea that, like, you have to come up with your next big idea if you want to survive another year, right? So this is the way that I've been running my life ever since I was out of college, and I still do that even though I'm in the credit union space. It's a little different. Uh, I wake up in the middle of the night and I got an idea and I write it down, and I wake up in the morning again and I go ahead and I do it. That's the thing, is this innate drive just to keep going and going and going and push the boundaries. I don't believe that when somebody says this is the way that we've always done it, that matters. To me, that's a BS statement, and I challenge that all the time. And that's part of what gets me going. I like saying, hey, we're going to try to do it this way now, rather than having done it that way for 20 years. Because for 20 years, for 30 years, for 50 years, you did do it on pencil and paper. You did have a passbook savings account. Now, that doesn't exist anymore. Why did it take us 50 years to get there? Well, why don't we do in 1 year what it took us 50 years to do in the past? And that's the kind of thing that I said, wow, did I make an impact? Did I push things forward? That's what drives
I think, in that way, both of us are very similar because we cannot accept the status quo, right? That's the reason I started this podcast at a whole, the Outlier Podcast, because it's okay, same person. I cannot take the BS, right? Let's talk things. Let's change things for good. I know a lot of friction will happen, but eventually things will change, right? And very similar with very similar nature. And I'm glad to know you as a person, Jeff. This is amazing, right? Uh, One quick one, right? As a next step. So, what drives your passion, right? So, you have an innate passion for innovation, is what I understand. Starting with your MarTech
me. Yeah.
days to moving right now what you're doing. So, what drives your passion for innovation in the credit union space, and how does that shape your vision for firefighters right now?
Well, I believe that we can do better than we do today, and that's probably the biggest driver. I like to think that, and I being in Firefighters First Credit Union is a very special experience, because we have a very special member base. They're firefighters, the career firefighters, and it's a very exclusive club. So we deal with them on a very personal basis. So this idea of providing great experiences for them, you can see how they react. You can see the impact on their lives. That's a driver right there for doing more, for doing better for them. So to innovate, to do things differently, to make the world a better place in the credit union itself. So that probably it's the people. And I would say back 20 years, I don't know if it was the people that drove me. I think maybe more the money drove me. Now the people drive me. It's a little bit of a internal shift in my life, but it's a cool shift.
Yeah, in a way, that's true. I agree. Right. Uh, Now with your experience, we're seeing pen paper to dot com bubble burst, then maybe data, data analytics, because I'm still stuck on the age of data analytics, because I still don't believe that credit unions have walked the journey of data analytics journey and talk about AI. We are not there yet. I mean, people may talk about me as a naysayer, but let's fix basics. Let's fix basics of data analytics. Let's fix basics of roadmap strategy, and then we talk about AI, right? So, but still, I mean, I would want to ask you a question that, what is the most exciting trend or technology trend that you're betting on, right? to transform credit unions in the next few years? What do you think?
Well, I have placed a big bet on AI for sure, and a lot of that is obviously there's this crossover between data and AI, but I'm all in on the AI revolution.
I mean, I cannot agree more to it. That's the future. Let's talk about applied AI, Jeff, right? I mean, we
Yeah.
spoke about this multiple times that AI is good as long it can be applied to use cases, as long as tangible business outcomes can be driven through AI. AI is not a magic ball. It's not a crystal ball that you just tell AI to change your business tomorrow, it will change. It won't. You have to have legit use cases to drive impacts, right? So, what is your 2 cents on applied AI?
Yeah, I totally agree. And this is totally analogous to just the whole data journey as well, right? Having data itself doesn't do anything. You need actionable data. You need to understand what you can do with the data analysis. And it's the same exact thing with AI, right? I have tools, but I need to know what to ask, how to ask it against the right data sets, and ensure that I have something that I can do with it. Now, interestingly, AI is kind of good at helping you figure out what you can do with it. It's a bit of this evolution against just pure data analysis, where I could say to an LLM, "Hey, look out at the internet, look out at the world, and if I have this data, what have others done with it, and give me some hints as to where I want to go." But I think when you look at the real applied space, the first thing that comes to my mind is contact center. Contact center is probably the biggest application that we could have right now. Things like call summary, sentiment analysis, next best offer. So this concept of taking your contact center agents or branch agents, whoever is interacting directly with members or banking customers, understanding their situation and then responding to them based upon their situation. So I like to think about the ideas of, I know who you are, I know where you've been, I know what business that you've been in. Of all the offers that I can offer you in my database, this is the one that is most likely to have a high propensity of acceptance. That's a great AI tool right there. And that's not just a pure data play, because if you do it right, you're also looking at not just the things you have in your database, but you're looking at external data. You're looking at external activities. You're looking at behaviors. But in the most ideal scenario, and this is kind of like pie in the sky, you look at how often does this person come into the branch? What kind of car are they
Yeah,
driving? You look at what are they wearing? Um,
basically.
right, you're correlating all these tangential things that can get you towards, I have a much higher propensity to give them a motorcycle loan versus a HELOC or something like that. And that's going to be where the future is, or at least the near future. Where the next future is, I'm not sure we all know yet, but that's where we're going.
We align almost 95% on everything we talk about, right? I never realized this. These are exactly the words I talk about. How do you find propensity for a consumer to buy? I think we have to move out of the box of just thinking that we serve members. At the end of the day, we serve consumers. Because you can have a member, right? But that person is a customer to a bank, a customer to a fintech. So we have to wear the hat of a financial institution that starts thinking of members as consumers, but yeah, preserving the mission and vision of credit unions intact and same, but spending that amount of time, money, effort to improve experience and put I would say focus on data and personalization. So that brings to my next question, Jeff, is how do you think I would say data and technology, right? For the lack of better words, data and technology is or should be used to create personalized both member and employee experience, because both of them are go hand in hand, right? You cannot decouple employee and customer experience. Unless your employees are happy, the customers will never be happy, and that's a basic thing which all entrepreneurs talk about. Keep your employees happy
Yeah.
to keep customers happy. So what do you think about that?
So I'll sort of agree with you first that I believe that employee experience is the driver of member customer experience, right?
Yeah.
A happy employee, an employee who's well trained, has access to information, it has a confident ability to work with and respond to members and customers, that's engaged employees. So engaged employees, they drive the revenue driving and the experience driving events that the members have. So that's great. So I think it's really, it comes into tools, right? What are the tools that you're going to provide to your employees to drive that? Do you have knowledge bases that are accurate, that are worded well in a way that they can use them? Are they, when you do, okay, so here's a terrible experience. You spend a whole bunch of money building a knowledge base, and you've put every document in the entire world that you have into this knowledge base. And so your employee queries this knowledge base, and they get back this 30-page document. How are you going to relay this 30-page document effectively to somebody who's standing in front of you? Well, really what you need is you need the 3-line summary, you need the talking points, you need the sales points, you need the things that matter to that particular customer. And how are you going to do that without data and AI and technology backing you up, right? So I hate to use the word CRM because some people think that that's a bit of a bad word, but in its most abstract concept, you need a really reactive CRM, a way that you can get the full view of who this person is and get information on how best to respond and interact with them.
I completely hear you and completely agree to every single point, right? And this, I think, brings on not my frustration, but my question that for an average credit union, right? Experience is a lot siloed at times. Now, what do I mean by that? You've got core sitting somewhere, you've got LOS, you've got LMS, servicing, you've got a MarTech platform, right? Half of them are on-prem, half of them are on cloud, they don't talk to each other, bunch of silos, right? I mean, I do digital transformation myself. Connecting all of them, getting data at one place, at times it becomes nightmare. It's very difficult, right? So you've done this for years, Jeff. Way longer than I've done. You've been here for the last 30 years. With all these challenges that you faced right now, digital transformation for credit unions is pretty difficult. It's pretty difficult. Starting with your online account opening to mobile banking, getting all of them at one place to using data. So what are the challenges that you faced while doing digital transformation initiatives for credit unions? And you want to share a few challenges or your anecdotes.
Yeah. So I think you hit on probably from like a CTO, CIO perspective, what is your biggest challenge? Your biggest challenge is the diversity of systems that you have to use because of the size of credit unions and the vast array of services that we need to offer. We end up having to buy different systems from different vendors. There's no one vendor out there, and maybe some people could argue that there are in some cases, and maybe there are in some cases, but there's no really one vendor who has a great system for every single business vertical that we've got. So what we're ending up doing is stitching together these disparate systems with really not very advanced techniques that FinTechs out there today putting out new product are using. So we're behind the 8 ball because we're buying core technologies that are 20, 30 years old, right? These are crazy legacy technologies that we're trying to stitch together. And that has a lot of overhead. And it's costly in terms of support. It's costly in terms of development. It's costly in terms of licensing. And for people who don't know, the sheer cost of licensing of one of these core systems or an online banking system, they are colossal. They are not cheap. It may be cheaper than building it yourself, but it puts a real kink in the hose of building a great IT shop. And then you have this also bigger problem of IT in a credit union, a financial institution, is a cost center. IT doesn't make any money. So there's a lot of downward pressure to reduce cost and do things as on the cheap as you can while being responsible from a security and information standards perspective. So that getting that in a way that's easily understandable and then communicating that problem out. Okay, so I think a good CIO, good CTO can probably solve that problem, but explaining to people why that is a problem to non-technical people is very challenging. And I've never been in an industry where you've had that particular challenge, where explaining the technology is so important. And try explaining it to a credit union board. Uh, if you're lucky, maybe you have one or two people on a board who were previous technology people out of your 9 or 12 or 13 that you've got. It's not their wheelhouse, so it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to get that message across and get it to a point where they understand. That's the biggie.
So that's a very valid challenge, right? All of us face, and you specifically running, information technology innovation for a credit union. I can just imagine the amount of red tape that you face every day to make things happen, man.
Well, it's always like you have this list of things you need to get done, right? And the list of things that I need to get done is probably 100 deep. Now, how many am I really going to get to? I'm going to get to the top 10, top 20. And it's bothersome that there's this list of 80 things that you can never get to because you're always under this pressure to, you got to put out the fires and you got to do the couple strategic things. And then, everything else is just prioritization. And when I'm going to get to the next priority, I'm going to get to it, but I can't do more than my capacity is to do.
Absolutely. I absolutely understand. So doesn't that lead to a Pandora's box? Because what I mean by this, you have a team, right? You have a team, and us. I mean, I'm a technologist, by profession. I mean, I do analytics data, 10 years. We always want to experiment, right? I mean, example, we want to play with the next LLM that comes. We want to look at what next, right? So how do you inspire your team to experiment, or take risks? Because there's an ecosystem that often values caution, right?
Yeah.
More than experimentation. I'm very sorry to say, but that's reality, right? I mean, we need to push things out to make innovation happen. So isn't that a challenge for you? And how do you inspire your current team? I mean, they might be stuck at times.
Yeah, so that's a great topic right there, and I think that directly speaks to some of the FinTech success as well, because they're not financial institutions, so they don't have the same restrictions, the same historical understanding of risk. As a financial institution, what is your primary duty? Your primary duty is to secure your deposits, make sure that you are solvent, lending at fair rates and being compliant, all these things. So how do you inspire somebody to take a chance? So the number one thing that I do with my team, and I've always done, is I try to explain to people why we're doing things, and from the top all the way down to the very bottom, to the lowest level employee that I've got on my team. I try to make sure that they understand the reasons why we're doing something, because I do believe that just because you're at the top of an organization, you are not the smartest person in that organization. You don't have the best ideas in that organization. You might, but you may be missing out on great resources of people who, if they knew what you were trying to solve, may have a great idea and have real experience in that area, or have just solid, innovative ideas. So this is quite. My theory is you explain the why, and you get better answers out of people. So I like to empower people as much as I can. Obviously, you can't just say like, hey, do anything you want. But I want to say, my door is always open. I'll explain to you why we're making the decisions that we're making. And if you don't think that they're the right decisions, or you think that you have better ideas, you're going to come to me and you tell me, I'm going to listen and we're going to talk it out. And I think that open door policy, that acceptance, that does help innovation, that does help things move forward. And it also it reduces the risk of innovation, because you're not saying to somebody, just go off and try something new. You're saying like, let's talk about it. If there's a reasonable chance of success, then maybe we can implement it.
I think that's very important, that open door policy of, people coming and talking and discussing and brainstorming. I think for us, Jeff, for people who get technology, we've always been like that, right? I mean, this is something which might be new to other folks, but for technology, we always value, if you can write a piece of code that's more efficient, let's go and do that. I don't really care about anything else, right? So I think that's the main motto. I mean, I want to be respectful of your time, Jeff. I want to ask you one parting question, right? Might be a difficult one. I mean, people ask this question even to me. I have multiple answers to it. Looking back at your journey, right? You come from a very different world, running QSO, you're now running technology and innovation at a credit union right now. So, what has been the boldest move? I would say that sets you apart, right? As an outlier in the landscape, because you're an outlier, and hence we honor you as an outlier. What is the boldest move that sets you apart?
Well, so I've been thinking about this one a little bit, and I had a bunch of answers for you, but I settled down on this one. The thing that I did was I lived in Connecticut for a very long time. I'm a New England guy, born and bred, my entire life there. I got off the phone with somebody one day who was the chief technology officer at Open Technology Solutions. I got off the phone with him after about a 5-minute conversation, and I said to my wife, if they're going to give me this job, we're moving to Colorado. And because it was just something just clicked between he and I. And I said, okay, we're just going. She said, my wife, who is awesome, said, okay, if you think that's the right thing to do, we'll do it. And we did it. And that was the start of my financial services journey, which has been the huge upswing of my life ever since. So I'm super happy that I did that. I love my life in Colorado. Connecticut was great, but I love financial services and I love Colorado, and it was a wonderful choice.
What was the life-changing moment for you? Getting off the call and saying, "Let's get it done."
Yeah. It was one of those just like, hey, I'm cutting the cord. We're doing it, and it was life changing.
I understand absolutely. So, Jeff, this was again great chatting with you. Very similar backgrounds. We had a lot of fun talking about this. But again, thank you, Jeff. Thank you for taking your time out to chat with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Thank you, sir.